Zombie Apocalypse.
How's it going, everybody? This is Todd Drabo. Hope you're having another great day, and welcome back to another video. Alright, we're continuing on with my rendition of Gamer Month, where we celebrate 63 years since the very first video game being released in the world, and for this one, it's sort of more of like a continuation from last week's video. However, this one, I'm going to be talking more about physical copies of games versus digital copies of games, because I feel like that this is really interesting topic in the gaming industry that really needs to be talked about. I'm going to be talking about why both of these are popular methods of getting your games, and where I personally side in this situation, and why exactly is a very interesting topic of debate here in the video game community, because I feel like this is something that really doesn't get talked about a whole lot in the mainstream outside of gaming, and I feel like it's more important to really touch on that here in this video. So obviously, as I mentioned before, you know, there are a lot of video gamers here in this world today, and a lot of them are going out hunting, trying to find popular video games, whether it's retro or modern day video games, and really there's a lot of ways that we can do this. Obviously, like I said before, you know, there are ways we can get physical copies of it, like on eBay or at video game stores, or even at thrift stores as well, maybe even places like flea markets as well. And there are a lot of physical copies of popular games, retro and modern, that you can get there. But there's a new way that's really almost trumped that as some sorts when it comes to the modern day aspect. As we all know, modern day gamers, you know, those that play on consoles like the PlayStation 4 or 5 or the Xbox One or Xbox Series X and stuff like that, those gamers, they usually now get their games digitally, whether it's on the PlayStation or Xbox game libraries, without even trying to step foot into the game store. You know, obviously it may cost a lot or maybe less depending on what the game actually is, and obviously that's just something that allows them to save some time without having to go to the game store to pre-order there and make a purchase of a physical copy there. It allows them to save their games there and be able to actually play it anytime without having to open up the case and actually put the disc in. It's right there for them to already download it. They can play it right away, and it's a good method. It's just not something that I personally do. So why is this a hot button topic here in the gaming community? Well, obviously everybody wants to have a game in their collection that allows them to be proud of themselves for, and one that they can show off to their friends saying, hey, I have this popular game. But here's the thing that is really different about this scenario. Obviously, like I said before, those that spend their games digitally, getting their games from the digital library, it obviously good with saving some time and also helps them avoid having to use a whole lot of gas in their cars to be able to go to a library or another gaming store to be able to get their games, obviously. But once again, you know, there are still some disadvantages when it comes to that. Obviously, when it comes to modern day gaming consoles today, you know, you don't know exactly what their lifespan is, obviously, because, you know, these have some very tough technology in them. At some point, consoles like those, they're going to die eventually. Like, for example, we all know about this time bomb thing that's going on with the PlayStation consoles, particularly with PlayStations 3, 4, and 5. That's really a hot button topic there, especially over on the Xbox and Nintendo sides with their modern consoles as well, although we don't know anything about whether they have some kind of like time bomb like they have in the PlayStation, obviously. But, you know, at some point, modern day consoles, because of the technology that they have in them, at some point, they are going to break and they are going to die. And obviously, as a result of that, it's going to be hard to be able to save those games if you download them digitally. I mean, you're proud to have them in your console collection, you're proud to have them in your gaming collection. The problem is, at that point, what happens when your console breaks or if it dies? If for some reason you're unable to save it into your library on your PlayStation or Xbox account or Nintendo account, if you play on Nintendo, when your console breaks, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to transfer that game over to another console for you to be able to play in future years, unfortunately. So unfortunately, as soon as that new modern day console you have dies, so too is that game. That game is automatically gone. And unfortunately, the moment you get a new console related to that, unfortunately, you're gonna have to go back, buy that game again, or you'll have to switch over to just getting physical copies of it, so that way you'll be able to play it again. And unfortunately, that's what you normally don't want to have happen if you're a modern day gamer. But unfortunately, these kinds of things, unfortunately, are bound to occur. Now, take that for granted when it comes to those that want to have a physical copy of a game, whether it's modern or retro gaming. Now, retro consoles, they will almost never die. Like the original PlayStation, the original Xbox, and even some other classic retro video game consoles, like, you know, the early Ataris, the Segas, and some of the early Nintendos as well. Those consoles, those are more just old school technology. So those consoles, they will never die, and they can easily be fixable as well, as long as they are not too heavily damaged. And with consoles like those require physical copies. There was no such thing as being able to go back in and download your games from the library. You had to get them from the game store or whatever online service you have and be able to buy physical copies of those games for you to be able to have in your entire collection. The thing is with these consoles, because they never die, if you have a physical copy of a game, now you actually have more proof to be able to show off your collection to everybody else, because hey, you actually have that game in your collection and you're able to show it off to everybody to let them know, hey, I have this game, I'm proud of it, and it's a game that I'm happy to have in my collection. The best part is, if your console dies or breaks, you don't have to worry about losing that disc either. You know, obviously you have that physical copy of it, you can transfer it over to the next console that you buy that is similar to that one that you have, and you can just play it right away. You know, obviously that's something that is a net positive if you're a gamer that buys physical copies instead of digital copies. Obviously you're able to just play them right away the moment you get your console. You don't have to worry about going back in and downloading a game to be able to play it all over again. So obviously, like I said, there are some benefits when it comes to the modern day way of gaming, which is of course buying games from the game stores, obviously online. Obviously, like I said, you know, saves a whole lot of time. You know, obviously there's also a lot of online multiplayer that goes on in modern day gaming. So when you download a copy, obviously on the game store, you're able to play it with a whole bunch of friends. Like for example, Fall Guys, which is very popular, Fortnite, which we haven't really heard of in almost like a year and a half or so, or PUBG, obviously, which is another big one. Those games like that, you buy them digitally, those are games that you can play online multiplayer with almost all the time, and you're able to play them with friends and family, obviously, and you just have a whole lot of time. But like I said, the moment those modern day consoles die, those games also go along with it, unfortunately. So obviously I like to see in the near future companies like Sony and Microsoft that build these consoles, especially Nintendo, maybe they remove some of that old technology, maybe build in some technology that allows the consoles to live forever. You know, obviously like the original PlayStation or the original Xbox or some of the old Nintendos and Segas, obviously, because I feel like that, you know, with these time bombs and these modern day consoles, it's going to be a recipe for disaster when one of those consoles dies and that gamer, all their games are online digitally and they're not going to be able to recover it. That's really going to be a big problem in the near future for gaming companies if they aren't able to fix this kind of problem. So when it comes to me, I know what you're thinking about. What side am I on? Well, the first thing is I've never gotten my games digitally. You know, I've never went to the Xbox store, well, primarily because I've never had an Xbox, nor did I ever go on the PlayStation store to get my games. You know, obviously it's good, but the problem is a lot of these games are way too expensive nowadays, especially the new ones. That's really another problem when it comes to buying digital games, obviously. It's that modern day games that you get on there, unless you're able to get something off of there for free, they can be very, very expensive. You know, obviously that's a real big problem. You know, obviously, like I said, physical copies, you know, modern day ones, they can be very expensive as well. But the thing is that the digital downloads, they are still almost exactly the same as the modern day game. It might be a little bit cheaper, but still, they can be very, very expensive. So for gamers that really want to get involved in the community, especially the modern day side, you know, that's really a problem that they can end up having if they don't have a whole lot of money to be able to get some of those new games. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes they're just not able to afford it. And so digitally downloading games sometimes, it's not really a popular option. And while it is the modern day way to go when it comes to getting your games in the modern day with the new consoles, me personally, I'm siding a little bit more with the old school gamers. And, obviously, I prefer to get my games in a physical retail rather than just getting them digitally because it means they last forever. Like I said before, your old consoles, especially the old retro games, those games are the ones that are going to last forever, like the PlayStation 1 and the PlayStation 2. You know, those are games where they don't have that old technology that we see in modern day gaming consoles. Those are just old school way of being able to build these consoles. It's not going to break unless you personally break it yourself. If you have the physical copies of those games, you're able to play those games forever. Nothing's going to break down the line unless you do something stupid to them. And more importantly, as long as you have that very big collection of physical copies of it, it's a really cool way to be able to show off all the games to your friends in a good way rather than being able to have to show them digitally by having to go into your library in the digital aspect and be able to show it off with it. That could take a whole lot of time. If you have that big room full of physical copies of all those video games, you're able to show them off easily to all of your friends and family and show how proud you are to be a part of the video game community. And really, this is a topic that I think that's not going to die anytime soon. In fact, I really do think that this is going to continue to grow over the next few years. And that will continue no matter how long the game community continues to expect, especially with, all the other new consoles that are going to come out in the near future, like the new ones that we're seeing in this generation. It's really going to be an interesting and heated topic of debate, obviously. So whether or not you buy your games physically or digitally, it really doesn't matter. What matters is we're still all one community, and gaming is something that brings us all together. So no matter what way you get your games, what matters is that you are enjoying them. And so that is something that I think really matters. So that being said, I want to ask you a little bit, what way do you prefer to buy your video games? Digitally, or do you do it in a physical manner, like at a local store or on eBay or something like that? Feel free to let me know down in the comments exactly how you buy your games and exactly why you prefer to do so in general. It's definitely an interesting topic of debate, and I definitely look forward to hearing whether or not you agree or disagree with me on this topic. So feel free to let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments. Otherwise, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button, and if you want to see more content, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when my latest video is released. As always, be sure to comment below for future suggestions for all my videos, whether it's vlogs, projects, challenges, or video game content, you name it, leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to make them. As always, follow me on my social media, all the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for this video. Hope you're having another great day. And as always, I hope to see all of you again in another video very soon. So long, everybody.